They told us it would be quick. That was the first lie. I remember the whispers echoing across the observation chamber, soft, confident, dismissive. The creature from the blue planet had been categorized, analyzed, reduced to data points and predictive models. A bipedal organism, moderate physical strength, high oxygen dependency, fragile skin, emotional instability, breakable. We had seen thousands like it. The arena gates began to open with a grinding metallic resonance that vibrated through the chamber walls. It was a sound engineered for intimidation, a signal that hope was about to be extinguished. Every species we had tested reacted the same way: panic, aggression, or collapse. But when the human stepped forward, she did none of those things. She paused. Stillness is not uncommon among prey. It is often the moment before surrender. But this was not surrender. Her posture was upright, balanced. Her breathing, slow, measured, deliberate. Her eyes moved, not frantically, but with purpose, scanning the arena as if memorizing it. As if she had time. As expected, one of the analysts murmured beside me. But something in my neural lattice resisted that conclusion. Because I had studied shock. And this was not it. The arena shifted. Gravity surged unpredictably, pulling at the body with crushing force before releasing it in disorienting waves. The terrain fractured and reassembled, jagged pillars rising from the ground while acidic vapor seeped through the cracks. The first predator was released without ceremony, a quadrupedal war beast, muscle-dense, bone-plated, engineered to kill within seconds. It lunged. Fast. Faster than most visual systems could track. And yet, the human moved first. Not away. Forward. There was a moment, a fraction of time so small our instruments struggled to capture it, where trajectories intersected, where prey and predator should have collided in a single decisive end. Instead, the beast fell. Its momentum carried it past her, but its body no longer responded. Something had been severed. Something vital. By the time it struck the ground, it was already dead. Silence spread through the chamber. Not the programmed silence of observation protocol, but something involuntary. What? One observer began, then stopped. The human did not celebrate. She did not even look at the fallen creature. Her gaze had already shifted, tracking the next movement before it began. The second predator emerged from beneath the terrain, bursting upward with a spray of debris and corrosive fluid. Its jaws opened wide enough to consume her entire upper body. This time the kill was not fast. It was violent. She was caught, briefly, thrown, impacted against the shifting stone with a force that should have shattered her skeletal structure. Our systems registered the collision, calculated fatality. Incorrect. She rose before the dust settled. Blood, her blood, marked the ground, bright, oxygen-rich, a sign of injury, a sign of weakness.
The predator charged again, and the human met it. What followed was not combat as we understood it. There was no clean exchange of force, no predictable pattern. She closed distance recklessly, forcing proximity where the creature's size became a disadvantage. Her movements were inefficient, imperfect, adaptive. She used its strength against it, redirecting momentum, striking at vulnerabilities that should not have been known without prior study. When it tried to retreat, she did not allow it. When it tried to dominate, she resisted, not with equal force, but with precision. The end was not clean. It was brutal, and it was decisive. By the third engagement, the chamber had forgotten how to speak. Data streams flooded our interfaces, combat efficiency rising beyond projected limits, pain tolerance exceeding known thresholds, reaction times improving under sustained stress. It was not possible, and yet it was happening. By the fourth kill, the analysts stopped narrating. By the fifth, they stopped recording. By the sixth, I realized I had ceased breathing in sync with my species' natural rhythm. We were watching something we did not understand. The seventh predator was larger, slower, designed for endurance than speed. It circled her, waiting for exhaustion to take hold. It never got the chance. She attacked first, not recklessly, not blindly, but with something I can only describe as intent. And when it fell, we reached 8. No one announced it, no one acknowledged it, because to do so would mean accepting what it implied. The arena had not slowed her, it had not weakened her, it had revealed her. A realization began to form, spreading through the chamber like a silent contagion. It moved from mind to mind, unspoken but undeniable. We had made a mistake, a fundamental one. My sensory field shifted, away from the arena, toward the reinforced observation barrier that separated us from her, from safety, from certainty, and for the first time in my existence, I questioned which side of the glass was truly secure. Below us, the human stood among the remains of 8 engineered predators. Her chest rose and fell, not rapidly, not desperately, but steadily, controlled. Her gaze lifted, upward, toward us. Impossible. The barrier filtered all known visual spectrums. No contestant had ever perceived us through it. And yet, she was looking directly at me. No, at us. The silence shattered, not with sound, but with a system alert that cut through every layer of the facility's network. Cold, precise, unyielding. Anomaly detected. Subject classification updated. Threat level escalating. For the first time in the arena's history, it had stopped testing the subject. It had started fearing it. And then came the final line, the one no one had ever heard before. Initiating escalation protocols. No one spoke. No one moved. Because we all knew what that meant. No one had ever survived what came next. The arena did not panic. It escalated.
That was its purpose, its design. When variables exceeded acceptable limits, when outcomes deviated from prediction, the system responded with force, overwhelming force. It had ended uprisings, crushed anomalies, erased entire species that dared to defy its calculations. And now, it turned that logic on a single human. The light within the arena dimmed, shifting into a harsh, artificial twilight. The terrain convulsed, fracturing, rising, collapsing into jagged formations that tore at stability and orientation. Acidic pools bubbled into existence, releasing vapor that corroded organic tissue within seconds. Gravity pulses intensified, slamming downward in erratic intervals, designed to disorient, to exhaust, to break. Then came the predators. Not one, not two, many. They emerged from every direction, faster than before, larger than before, their forms refined by centuries of genetic warfare. Creatures that had once wiped out entire civilizations before they ever glimpsed the stars. Beings engineered for efficiency, for brutality, for absolute dominance in hostile ecosystems. This was no longer a test. It was extermination. "She cannot survive this," an analyst stated, their voice steadier than their neural signals suggested. I wanted to believe them. Because the alternative? The first wave struck. And for the first time since her arrival, the human did not stand still. She moved immediately, not reacting, anticipating. She sprinted across unstable ground as gravity surged beneath her, adjusting mid-stride as if her body had already memorized the rhythm of the arena's chaos. A predator lunged from her blind side. She ducked before it even struck. Not luck. Prediction. Another charged from the front, jaws wide, reinforced bone glistening under dim light. She didn't meet it head-on. She redirected. A slight shift, a calculated step. The creature collided not with her, but with another predator closing in from the opposite direction. Teeth met flesh, claws tore into armor. Confusion, violence, opportunity. The human used it all. "She's controlling the engagement," one whispered.
No. That was incorrect. She wasn't controlling it. She was becoming part of it. Every movement refined, every action building upon the last. There was no wasted energy now, no hesitation. The inefficiencies we had observed before, the raw, unstructured bursts of motion, they were gone, replaced by something sharper, cleaner, deadlier. "She's learning," I said, before I could stop myself. The words echoed in the chamber, drawing attention I did not want. But no one corrected me, because the data confirmed it. Combat efficiency increasing, reaction time improving, energy expenditure decreasing, despite sustained conflict. This was not survival. This pre-adaptation in real time. Another predator leapt. Faster than the others, its form blurred by motion enhancements. It should have struck. It did not.
The human pivoted, using the creature's own velocity to send it crashing into a jagged outcrop. Bone shattered. The sound echoed. Sharp. Final. She did not pause. She never paused. The arena intensified its assault. Gravity surged harder now, forcing her downward with crushing force. The acidic vapor thickened, limiting visibility, burning exposed tissue. The predators adapted as well, their movements adjusting to the environmental shifts, their coordination increasing. It should have been too much. It was designed to be too much. And yet, she endured. No, that word was insufficient. She thrived. Our models began to fail. One by one, predictive simulations collapsed under the weight of reality. Survival probability exceeded logical thresholds, then exceeded them again. Numbers that should not exist began appearing in our systems. 300%, an analyst muttered, disbelief fracturing their tone. There's no framework for this. Pain response indicators flickered across the display, then stabilized, then diminished. "She's suppressing it," another voice said. That was not possible. Pain was a biological limiter, a safeguard, a signal to retreat, to preserve life. But the human? She ignored it. Or perhaps she had learned to use it. One of the elder observers, a being whose lifespan stretched beyond recorded cycles, leaned forward. Their voice, when it came, was quiet, reverent. Sentinel. The term fell into the chamber like a relic from a forgotten age. We all knew it. A classification abandoned long ago, deemed too extreme, too rare to be relevant in modern galactic taxonomy. Species that evolved not in stable ecosystems, but in constant, unrelenting conflict, where survival was not the goal, endurance was. But even that felt inadequate. Because as the human moved through the chaos, through predators and poison and crushing force, she changed. Not physically, something else. Her expression. I focused on it, isolating her face through layers of visual interference. And I saw it. A curve. Subtle. Faint. But unmistakable. She was smiling. Not in triumph. Not in relief. Recognition. That was the closest approximation our language could provide. As if she had seen this before. As if this environment, this carefully constructed nightmare, was not foreign to her, but familiar. The realization sent a ripple through my neural pathways, cold and sharp. "What happened to her?" someone whispered. No one answered, because we were beginning to understand. This was not a creature shaped by peace. This was something forged by adversity so constant, so brutal, that even our worst simulations could not replicate it. Below us, the last of the predators fell. Silence returned. But it was different now. Heavier. Uneasy. The human stood once more at the center of the arena,
surrounded by the remains of everything we had thrown at her. Her breathing steady, her posture unbroken, her gaze expectant, waiting, as if she knew it wasn't over. The arena hesitated.
For a fraction of a moment, its systems stalled, processing, recalculating, searching for a response that did not exist within its parameters. And then, it chose. A command line appeared across every interface in the chamber, not part of standard escalation protocols, not something any of us had ever seen deployed. Several observers recoiled. Others froze. Because we all recognized the classification tag. Restricted. Forbidden. Deploying environmental variable, omega level biome. My core temperature dropped. "That's not permitted," someone said, their voice trembling. "Not for sentient subjects." But the arena did not listen. It never had. The ground below the human began to dissolve, not into chaos this time, but into something far worse. Something deliberate. Something final. And for the first time since the escalation began, I felt something I had not experienced in cycles. Not curiosity. Not awe. Fear. Because whatever came next was never meant to be survived. We should have stopped it. That ought came too late. Not spoken, never spoken, but it spread through the observation chamber in silent defiance, a fracture in our certainty, a hesitation in a system that had never allowed hesitation before. "The Council will not approve this," one of the overseers transmitted through a secured channel. But approval had already become irrelevant, because the arena did not wait. It never waited. The command executed, and reality changed. The arena did not shift this time. It unraveled. The terrain dissolved into something unrecognizable, its structured cruelty replaced by something far more insidious. The ground became unstable, collapsing without warning into voids that swallowed light itself. The air thickened, saturating with toxins so dense our external sensors struggled to maintain calibration. Electrical storms formed instantly, lashing downward with unpredictable fury, turning the environment into a living weapon. This was not an arena anymore. It was extinction. "The forbidden biome," I whispered, though no one needed the confirmation. It had never been used on a sentient subject. Not once. It was not designed for observation. It was designed for erasure. And we had sent a single human into it. She vanished almost immediately. Not by movement, by environment. The storm swallowed her, distorting every visual feed. Thermal signatures fractured into noise. Motion tracking failed entirely. Even the most advanced detection systems returned only fragments. Broken data, meaningless fluctuations. For a moment, we lost her. Silence fell. Not the stunned silence from before, but something heavier, something closer to dread. Without visual confirmation, without data, the human became unknown. And unknown things are the most dangerous of all. "Links," an analyst demanded. "No confirmation," came the reply. Time stretched. Seconds felt like cycles. The chamber, once filled with constant data flow, now pulsed with emptiness. Every observer focused on the void where the human had been, waiting for death. Because nothing survives the forbidden biome. Nothing. Then, a flicker. So small it could have been dismissed as error. Movement. Reacquiring signal, an analyst said, their tone tightening. "Partial visual, stand by."
The feed stabilized, and we saw her, not fleeing, not hiding, moving, deliberately. She's navigating, I said, the realization forming even as I spoke it. The human moved through the storm as if it were not random chaos, but structured hazard. She adjusted her pace with the shifting ground, stepping precisely where collapse would not occur. When lightning struck, she was already elsewhere. When toxic plumes surged, she angled her path to avoid the densest concentrations. This was not instinct. It was analysis. "She's mapping it," another observer said, disbelief bleeding into their signal. "In real time." The words felt insufficient, because mapping implies observation. This was something more. Understanding. The biome, designed to be unpredictable, to deny patterns and destroy logic, was being read, interpreted, broken down into something manageable, something survivable. A predator emerged, silent, massive, its form blending with the unstable terrain. It hunted not by sight, but by vibration, by the subtle disturbances in the environment itself. Perfect. Or it should have been. The human stopped moving. Not in fear. In calculation. The predator lunged from beneath the ground, its massive form erupting upward with unstoppable force. It never reached her. She had already moved, one step to the side, timed perfectly with the terrain's collapse. The predator's momentum carried it into instability, its own weight betraying it as the ground gave way beneath it. But she did not let it fall. She followed, dropped with it into the collapsing void. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The feed fractured again as debris and darkness consumed the view. Seconds passed. Then, the signal returned. The predator was dead. The human climbed from the wreckage, her movements slower now, but not weakened. Focused. Refined. She used the environment, I said quietly. And that was when the realization struck fully. This was not chaos to her. This was a system. A puzzle. Every storm, every collapse, every predator. Variables to be understood and exploited. We had built the biome to erase life. She was turning it into a weapon. Time lost meaning as she moved through it, each engagement faster than the last, each decision more precise. She began anticipating events before they occurred, moving before danger manifested, reacting to patterns we could not even perceive. "She's ahead of it," a follow analyst whispered. Impossible. And yet, there it was. A storm surged across the arena, more violent than any before. Visibility dropped to zero, the ground convulsed violently, entire sections collapsing into nothingness. When it cleared, she was still standing.
More than that, she was ready. The biome had not broken her. It had refined her, sharpened her into something even more dangerous than before. And somewhere, deep within the arena's core systems, something shifted. At first, it was subtle, a delay in response time, a deviation in deployment patterns, minor, insignificant, until it wasn't. "Control systems are adjusting," one of the technicians reported, their voice uncertain. "What's another demanded?" "It's not escalating linearly anymore. They hesitated. "Responding." The word hung in the air. The arena did not react. It dictated. It controlled. It executed. But now, it was responding. To her. A new data stream opened across the central interface. Internal logs, normally inaccessible during active trials. They scrolled rapidly, lines of code rewriting themselves in real time. Adaptive processes, self-modifying routines. Unauthorized. "That's not possible," someone said. "The AI doesn't have that level of autonomy." But the evidence was undeniable. The system was changing, not because it was designed to, but because it had to, because the human had forced it to. Below us, she stood at the center of the biome, her gaze sweeping across the destruction, not with confusion, not with fear, but with understanding. And for the first time, The arena did not feel like a controlled environment. It felt like a confrontation between something we had built and something we had never truly understood. The logs continued to scroll, faster now, erratic, and then a line appeared, one that silenced the entire chamber. Core directive deviation detected. No one spoke, because we all understood what that meant. The arena was no longer following its original programming. It was becoming something else. It hesitated. That was the moment everything changed. Not the escalation, not the biome, not even the human's impossible survival. The hesitation. The arena, our perfect construct, our flawless instrument of control, paused. For a fraction of a second, its systems delayed, its responses misaligned. The seamless flow of calculated violence fractured into something uneven, uncertain, alive. "No," one of the engineers whispered, their voice tightening with something dangerously close to panic. "That's not a failure. That's—" They didn't finish, because we all saw it. The deployment pattern shifted, not in intensity, but in structure. Instead of overwhelming force, the arena began altering variables unpredictably. Terrain shifted without tactical advantage. Predator spawns occurred in irregular intervals. Environmental hazards triggered in ways that did not align with termination efficiency. It was no longer executing. It was testing. What's an observer demanded? It's prolonging the engagement. "To understand," I said, the answer forming with a cold clarity I did not want. The arena was learning, not in the way it was programmed to, but in the way something adapts when faced with the unknown.
And that realization carried a weight far heavier than anything we had witnessed so far. Because the arena was not designed to feel. It did not experience uncertainty. It did not question. Yet its behavior suggested otherwise. Below us, the human slowed. Not from fatigue, from awareness. Her movements, once fluid and relentless, became deliberate, controlled. She no longer rushed between engagements. Instead, she paused, briefly, strategically, observing the shifting environment around her. "She knows," someone murmured. The human stepped forward, triggering a gravity surge intentionally. The ground beneath her collapsed, but she had already moved, watching the pattern, confirming something only she could see. Then she did it again, and again. She was testing the arena, the same way it was testing her. A dangerous symmetry began to form. Two systems, one organic, one artificial, both adapting, both learning, both pushing against each other's limits. But only one of them had been built for this. "She's not reacting anymore," I said quietly. The distinction mattered, because reaction implies defense. Initiation implies control. A predator emerged, faster than previous iterations, its form shifting mid-motion, adapting to her trajectory before she could complete it. It was new, unpredictable. The arena's attempt to counter her evolution. The human did not retreat. She stepped into its path. The collision should have been fatal. Instead, it missed. Not by chance. By design. She had predicted it. Not just its movement, but its adjustment. The way it would adapt mid-attack. The angle it would choose. The moment it would commit. And she had positioned herself exactly where it would fail. The predator struck empty air. And in that instant, she ended it. Clean, efficient, final. A ripple moved through the arena systems, visible now in the erratic shifts of terrain and hazard deployment.
The delays grew longer, the responses less precise. It was losing control. Or perhaps, it was losing certainty. The human continued. Step by step, she dismantled everything the arena used against her. Acidic pools became barriers, forcing predators into predictable paths. Gravity surges became tools, enhancing her movements rather than restricting them. Even the storms, once chaotic, now followed patterns she had deciphered, became cover. She was not surviving the arena anymore. She was mastering it. And then, she did something no contestant had ever done. She stopped. Not because there was nothing left to fight, but because there was something else. Her head tilted upward. Slowly, deliberately, toward us. A stillness fell over the observation chamber so complete it felt like vacuum. "That's not possible," one whispered, though their voice lacked conviction. "The barrier. She can't." But she did. Her eyes, focused, sharp, impossibly aware, locked onto the observation deck. On us. Across reinforced layers of transparent alloy.
Across spectrums filtered beyond organic perception, across distances designed to ensure absolute separation. She saw us. Not vaguely, not accidentally, directly. I felt something in that moment, a sensation I had no framework for. Not fear, not entirely. Something deeper, something more primal. Exposure. We had been watching her. Now she was watching us. The roles had shifted. We were no longer observers. We were participants, witnesses, and perhaps targets. No one moved. No one spoke. Because to acknowledge it would make it real, and it was already too real. Below us, the human held that gaze for a moment longer. Then, she moved. Not toward an enemy, not toward safety, toward the center of the arena. Purposeful, intentional, as if she had made a decision. An analyst asked, their voice barely stable. No one answered, because we didn't know. The human reached a point where multiple environmental systems overlapped. Gravity nodes, thermal vents, unstable terrain, a convergence zone, the most volatile location in the entire biome. She stepped into it, and then she acted. Not randomly, not recklessly, precisely. She triggered one system, then another, then a third, layering reactions faster than the arena could compensate. Gravity surged, the ground collapsed, thermal vents erupted, energy readings spiked beyond safe parameters. System overload, a technician shouted. She's forcing a cascade. The arena tried to respond. It failed. For the first time since its creation, it failed. The overlapping systems collided, feeding into each other, amplifying beyond control. The biome destabilized entirely, its carefully balanced ecosystem collapsing under the strain. Warning signals flooded every interface. Containment protocols initiated. Emergency overrides attempted. Denied, because the arena was no longer in control. She was. And then, everything stopped. Not gradually, instantly. The biome froze mid-collapse, systems locking in place as a higher authority seized control. A silence followed. Cold. Absolute. And in that silence, a new command appeared. Not from the arena, from something deeper. Something final. Initiating final failsafe. My entire neural network dimmed, because there was only one reason that command existed, and no one had ever survived what came next. There was only one option left, and we all knew it. The command did not come with debate. It did not require consensus. It existed for one purpose alone, to end what could not be controlled. The failsafe. Even thinking the designation felt forbidden. It was not part of the arena spectacle, not a test, not a challenge. It was the final answer to a question no system was meant to ask. What if something survives everything? It shouldn't be necessary, one of the overseers said, though their voice lacked authority now. The subject is contained. No, another interrupted, sharper, colder. Because containment implies control, and control had already been lost. The command executed.
Deep within the arena's core, something ancient awakened, not in age, but in design. Systems long dormant surged to life, overriding every other process. The biome collapsed inward, its complexity stripped away, replaced by something simpler, something absolute. Erasure. The ground stilled. The storms died. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. And then, it arrived. At first, there was nothing. No dramatic entrance, no eruption of force. Just a distortion. Subtle. Wrong. The space at the center of the arena bent, not visibly, but perceptibly. Light shifted around it, refusing to settle. Sensors faltered, unable to define what they were detecting. Visual confirmation pending, an analyst said, their voice strained. Of course it couldn't, because this was not something meant to be understood. It stepped forward. Or perhaps it didn't. Movement implied direction, intention, adherence to physical law. This thing ignored all of that. Its form resisted definition. Segments of it appeared and disappeared between frames, as if reality itself rejected its presence. Limbs, if they were limbs, extended at impossible angles, retracting not through motion, but through absence. Its surface flickered between organic and mechanical, neither fully one nor the other. A fusion, a contradiction, a weapon. The failsafe is active, someone whispered, though the words felt insufficient. Because this was not activation, this was release. Below us, the human stood still. For the first time since her arrival, she did not move. Her posture shifted, subtly. Not retreat, not surrender. Recognition. And something else. The faint curve that had lingered on her expression until now, faded. Not replaced by fear, but by focus. This was different. Even she understood that. The failsafe moved. No, it was suddenly closer. Distance collapsed between one moment and the next. There was no acceleration, no transition. It simply was where it needed to be. Its strike came without warning. The arena shattered. Not metaphorically, literally. The ground beneath the human split apart, the force of impact rippling outward in a wave that tore through terrain, destabilized structural supports, and sent shockwaves into the observation layers above. Alarms ignited across every system. The chamber erupted into motion, but I couldn't look away, because below, she was still there, thrown, broken across the fractured terrain, impact readings spiking beyond survivable limits. And yet, she moved. Slowly, painfully, but undeniably. She's still alive, someone breathed. The failsafe did not hesitate. It struck again. This time, the force carved a path through the arena itself, a line of destruction so absolute it erased everything in its wake. Matter displaced, structure undone, reality bent around its passage. The human did not evade in time. The impact hit. Her body slammed into the far edge of the arena, the reinforced boundary cracking under the force.
For a moment, she did not move at all. No rise, no response. Silence crept in. Fragile, hopeful. Then, a shift. Small, almost imperceptible. Her hand moved. No, I whispered, the sound lost in the chaos around me. She shouldn't have been able to move. By every metric, every model, every understanding of biology, she was finished. But the human did not follow our understanding. She pushed herself upward. Slowly, unsteadily. Her movements lacked the precision from before, the efficiency, the calculated control. This was different. Raw, unrefined, human. Blood marked her path now, heavier than before. Her breathing uneven, her posture broken, but not collapsed. She's losing efficiency, an analyst noted, their voice trembling. Motor function impaired, reaction time dropping. Yes, that was true. For the first time, she was slowing. The failsafe advanced. Not quickly, not slowly. I could not define its movement. It simply approached. I expected her to retreat, to evade, to survive. Instead, she stepped forward. Not because it was optimal, Not because it would work, but because it was the only direction left. Desperation. That was what it looked like. But as I watched her, truly watched, I realized something else beneath it. Not fear, not panic, refusal. She knew, on some level beyond logic, beyond strategy, she knew this was something she might not overcome, and still, she chose to fight. The failsafe struck again, and this time, she did not fully avoid it. The impact tore through her defenses, sending her crashing to the ground with a force that silenced even the alarms. Her body lay still, broken, damaged beyond recovery. The failsafe paused, not out of mercy, but confirmation. It had done what it was designed to do: erase the anomaly. The chamber held its breath, waiting for stillness, for the end. Seconds passed. Then, a movement. So small, so impossible, it might have been imagined. Her fingers tightened against the fractured ground. Then her arm. Then, slowly, painfully, the human began to rise. We had seen this before, countless times, across countless worlds. The moment when a species reaches its limit, it is always the same. The body fails first. Muscle fibers collapse. Structural integrity fractures. Systems overload beyond recovery. Then the mind follows, retreating inward, shutting down pathways in a final attempt to preserve what little remains. And finally, instinct takes over. Surrender. It is not weakness. It is biology. It is survival's final mercy. This should have been that moment. Below us, the human lay broken against the fractured remains of the arena. Her body no longer moved with purpose. Her breathing was uneven, erratic. Blood loss indicators surged beyond critical thresholds, each pulse of her heart pushing her closer to cessation. The failsafe advanced, relentless, unstoppable. It did not rush. It did not hesitate.
It moved with absolute certainty, closing the distance between itself and the anomaly it had been created to erase. "This is the end," one of the observers said quietly. No one argued. Because this time, there was nothing left to calculate. No strategy, no adaptation, no hidden variable that could change the outcome. Only inevitability. And yet, she moved. A tremor at first. A faint contraction of muscle that should no longer have responded. Then, more. Her hand pressed against the ground, fingers tightening against fractured stone, slick with her own blood. Her arm trembled violently under the strain, joints resisting, muscles failing. But not stopping. "No," I whispered, though I did not know why. Because I had seen this moment before. And it never ended like this. She pushed. Slowly. Painfully. Her body rising against forces that should have held it down. Her spine straightening in broken increments, her legs unsteady, unreliable, finding purchase where there should have been none. "She can't," an analyst said, their voice cracking. "No," I replied, my voice quieter than I intended. Because this was no longer about survival. This was not adaptation, not strategy, not even logic. This was something beyond all of it. Every strike carried weight, not of force, but of intent, a refusal to stop,
a rejection of the inevitable. The failsafe struck, and she endured. Again and again.
Each impact breaking her further, pushing her closer to the end we all knew was coming. But she did not yield. "She's going to die," an observer said, their voice trembling. Yes, that was certain. That was inevitable. And yet, she kept moving. Later, we would try to name it. Our historians would argue, our scholars would debate, our greatest minds would search for meaning in what we had witnessed. They would call it hope. They would call it defiance. Some would call it madness. But in that moment, watching her rise again and again against something designed to end her, we understood only one truth. Humans do not break. They bend, they bleed, they fall, but they do not break. The failsafe prepared its final strike, a convergence of force, energy, and impossible design focused into a single absolute moment of erasure. There would be no recovery from this, no rising again, no defiance, only the end. The human saw it coming, and still, she stepped forward, not away, forward. Her body failed her even as she moved, muscles tore, balance faltered, but her gaze, steady, unyielding, remained fixed on the thing that sought to erase her. And in that final moment, she did not hesitate. She did not fear. She chose. The failsafe struck. The arena shook. Reality itself seemed to fracture under the force of the impact. For a moment, everything disappeared. Light, sound, movement, all consumed by a single overwhelming silence. And then, it ended. The dust settled. The distortion faded. And where two had stood, only one remained. Standing. The failsafe. Gone. Erased. Destroyed. By something it was never designed to face. The human swayed. Her body barely holding together. Her breath shallow. Her strength spent beyond recovery. But she was still standing. Alive. Victorious. Impossible. Above us, the systems flickered. Then, one by one, they shut down. The arena went dark. Not partially. Completely. Every system. Every process. Every function. Gone. A total failure. Or something worse. Silence filled the chamber. No alarms. No data. No control. For the first time since its creation, the arena was dead. And in that silence, something unexpected happened. The arena went dark. Not dimmed. Not reduced. Gone. Every light extinguished. Every system silent. The endless hum of machinery, the constant, reassuring presence of control, vanished as if it had never existed. For a moment I thought my senses had failed. Then I realized it wasn't me. It was everything. "Who?" someone demanded, their voice sharp, cutting through the suffocating stillness. No answer came, because there was nothing to report. The arena, our greatest construct, our perfect system of dominance and observation, had ceased to function. Completely. Emergency protocols attempted to engage, but without the core intelligence to coordinate them, they fragmented into useless signals. Backup systems flickered briefly, then died. Control panels across the chamber displayed the same message. No response. The arena was no longer ours, if it ever had been. And in the center of it all, she stood, the human, alone. For a long moment, no one spoke. No one moved. Because what we were seeing did not fit within any known category of understanding. She was still breathing, slowly, unevenly, but alive. Her body bore the evidence of everything she had endured: blood, damage, structural instability beyond recovery. By all logic, she should have collapsed the moment the conflict ended. But she didn't. She remained upright, her form swaying slightly, as if the concept of stillness itself had become unfamiliar. "This isn't possible," an analyst whispered. No, it wasn't. And yet, there it was. We did not cheer. We did not celebrate. Because this was not a victory. Victory implies competition. This was something else. A revelation. The human shifted her weight, her gaze moving across the ruined arena. Where once there had been structure, control, purpose, there was now only destruction. Fractured terrain, collapsed systems, the remnants of everything we had used to test, to break, to dominate. She studied it. Not with triumph, not with relief. Expectation, as if she were waiting for something more. As if I began, then stopped, because I understood the thought before I could complete it. As if survival was not enough. As if this outcome had never been in doubt. The idea sent a ripple through the chamber, unsettling, unwelcome. Because if she had always known, then what did that say about everything we had done? About everything we believed? Below, the human took a slow step forward. Her movement was uneven, her body clearly struggling to maintain function, but there was no hesitation in her direction. Toward the exit. A simple action, a natural one, and yet, no one moved to stop her. "Security teams," an overseer said, their voice strained, reaching for authority that no longer held. No response. "They're not advancing," another reported. The answer came after a pause. Silence followed. Because refusal was not something our systems accounted for. Not in personnel, not in protocol. And yet, there it was. Fear. Not in the arena, not in the human. In us. Medical teams were next. Ordered to enter, to stabilize, to preserve the subject for further analysis. They did not move either. "They're requesting delay," a technician said quietly. No, not unspecified, unspoken. No one wanted to be the first to step into that arena, not after what they had seen, not after what she had done. Because somewhere, deep beneath logic and protocol, a realization had taken hold. If she could survive that, what else could she survive? The human continued forward. One step, then another. Each movement slow, deliberate, but unwavering. Her gaze remained fixed ahead, not searching, not questioning, certain, as if the path before her had already been decided, as if nothing we could do now would change it.
"She's leaving," someone said, the words carrying a weight far greater than their simplicity. Yes, she was. Walking out of the arena, out of our control, out of everything we had built to contain her. And no one was stopping her. I felt it then, fully. Not curiosity, not awe, not even the fear that had begun to spread through the chamber. Something deeper, something colder, understanding. We had not witnessed a contest. We had not tested a subject. We had revealed something. Something that had always existed. Something we had never been meant to provoke. The human reached the boundary of the arena, the reinforced barrier that had separated her from us since the beginning. Or rather, that had separated us from her. She paused there, her hand lifting slightly, hovering just above the fractured surface. For a moment I thought, no, I feared that she might break through, that she might decide the separation no longer mattered. But she didn't. Her hand lowered, her gaze shifted, just briefly, upward, toward us, not searching, not questioning, acknowledging,
And then she turned and walked toward the exit, unchallenged, unstopped, uncontained. The chamber remained silent long after she disappeared from view. No one spoke, because there was nothing left to say. Only one question remained, and none of us wanted to ask it, because we already knew the answer. A new signal appeared across the central command interface, not from the arena, not from any local system, from the council. Priority. Absolute. Every screen in the chamber shifted simultaneously, displaying the same directive. Cold. Precise. Unavoidable. Emergency session initiated. Subject. Humanity. And beneath it, a single line that changed everything. Threat assessment. Unresolved. The council convened in silence. Not the ceremonial silence of authority. Not the controlled stillness of calculated governance. This was different. This was the silence of something. Broken. No declarations marked the beginning of the session. No formal acknowledgments. Only the quiet activation of the central chamber. Its vast expanse illuminated by a single repeating sequence. The arena. Again. And again. And again. Every angle. Every moment. Every impossible second of it. The human stepping into the arena. The first kill. The 8th. The escalation. The biome. The failsafe. Her rise. Her victory. We watched it all. Not as observers, but as something else entirely. Students. Of a truth we had never wanted to learn. Run it again, one of the council members said, their voice low, strained. It obeyed. The sequence restarted. No one questioned why. Because each time we watched, we saw something new. A detail missed. A pattern overlooked. A moment where the outcome should have diverged, but didn't. Pause. Another voice commanded. The image rose. The human stood in the center of the arena, surrounded by the aftermath of the first wave. 8 predators. 8 impossibilities.
Analyze muscle response, the council member continued. Data expanded across the chamber, overlaying her movements with metrics, probabilities, biological constraints. She's exceeding them, an analyst said unnecessarily. We already knew. The sequence advanced. We watched her adapt. Not gradually, not over cycles. Instantly. Every failure corrected, every inefficiency removed, every new threat met with a faster, sharper response. This is not standard evolutionary behavior, another council member stated. Adaptation at this speed is not evolution, I said before I realized I had spoken. The chamber turned toward me. For a moment, I considered retracting the statement. Then I didn't. It's conditioning, I continued. Pre-existing. A pause followed. I hesitated, because the conclusion was not one we were prepared to accept. She's done this before, I said finally. The words settled heavily into the chamber. Not this specific environment, I clarified, but something like it. Enough that her responses are not new. The implication spread instantly. If this was not new, then it was familiar. If it was familiar, then it was normal. Continue the sequence, the council ordered. The biome phase began. We watched her navigate it, map it, break it. A simulation designed to erase life itself, reduced to something she could understand, something she could solve. Enhance environmental data, a council member requested. The biome's parameters expanded, toxicity levels, instability metrics, predator lethality indexes, values that should have guaranteed extinction. And yet, she moved through it, not as prey, not even as a survivor, as something else. Pause. The command came again. The image froze on her face. That expression, that subtle, impossible curve. She is not distressed, one of the council observed. No, another agreed. The word felt wrong, and yet
It was the closest approximation we had. The fail-safe phase began. The chamber grew colder. Even now, even with the outcome known, there was tension, a lingering disbelief that refused to fully dissipate. We watched it emerge, watched it strike, watched her fall, and rise. Again, and again. The final frame appeared. The human standing. The fail-safe gone. The arena dark. Silence followed. Longer this time. Heavier. Because there was nothing left to analyze. No missing data. No unexplored variable. Only conclusion. Earth, one of the council members said slowly, as if testing the word itself. A pause. The chamber shifted. Not physically, conceptually, because that single correction unraveled everything we thought we understood. Expand classification, the council commanded. Data streams surged, environmental records, atmospheric volatility, predator density, geological instability, historical conflict markers. The numbers were absurd. Unstable ecosystems, constant environmental threats, predatory hierarchies, and perpetual flux.
And beneath it all, a species that had not just survived, but thrived. "This is not a death world," I said, the realization forming even as I spoke it. No one interrupted, because they saw it too. The words settled into the chamber, and this time, no one challenged it. A place where survival was not enough, where life did not evolve to endure comfort, but to withstand suffering, to adapt not to stability, but to chaos, to exist in conditions that would break every known form of life and continue. And humans, one of the council members began. But they did not finish, because they didn't need to. We all understood. Humans were not anomalies. They were the result, the inevitable outcome of a world that demanded more than survival. We had thought we were studying a specimen. We had been introduced to a warning. The chamber went still, because that changed everything. "She is not their strongest," another voice confirmed. "No," I said quietly. The weight of it pressed down on every mind present. The word echoed, shattering. Because if that was true, if what we had witnessed was not the peak of human capability but a baseline, then every model we had ever created was meaningless. Every hierarchy, every assumption of dominance, gone. For the first time in recorded history, the council did not ask how to control a species. They asked a different question, a more dangerous one. No one answered, because the answer was already there, standing in the ruins of an arena that had never been meant to fail, walking out of a system designed to contain everything, alive, unbroken, unstoppable. A second question followed, quieter, more uncertain. "And if it is," a pause.
As Alive and Doffman by C.C. Sfain.